Most big projects do not fail because people are stupid or lazy. They fail because the system that produces decisions is flawed. The book, How Big Things Get Done, starts from this uncomfortable observation. If you look across history, across industries, across countries, the dominant pattern is failure. Costs go up. Timelines stretch. Benefits quietly disappear. And this happens not occasionally, but routinely. What makes this more dangerous is that projects are usually approved on the basis of a compelling future vision. The vision looks clean. The story sounds logical. The upside is emphasized. But the approval process systematically filters out realism. Optimism bias makes everyone believe they will be better than average. Power dynamics reward those who promise more for less. Over time, this creates a machine that selects for unrealistic plans. A critical point the book makes early is that big is contextual. A project does not need to be a bridge or a nuclear plant to behave like a mega project. For a bootstrapped operator, a 6-month rebuild, a platform migration, or a market expansion can be existential. The same failure dynamics apply to all complex systems that involve coordination, dependencies, and time. This leads to the central principle: think slow, act fast. This is not a motivational slogan. It is a risk management strategy. Thinking slow means deliberately resisting the urge to act. It means spending disproportionate time in planning, not to produce documents, but to surface reality. This phase is cheap. Mistakes cost only time. Acting fast, on the other hand, happens only after uncertainty has been squeezed out as much as possible. Because once execution begins, money starts burning, commitments harden, and reversibility disappears. One of the most sobering insights in the book is statistical. Fewer than half of projects stay within budget. Fewer than 1 in 10 meet both cost and time expectations. And almost none deliver the full benefits promised at approval. These numbers are stable across industries. This tells us something important. Failure is not an exception. It is the base rate. Even worse, project risks are not normally distributed. They are fat-tailed. Most projects cluster near the average, but a small percentage go catastrophically wrong. These tail failures dominate total damage. Large organizations survive them. Small operators do not. This is why bootstrapped builders must behave very differently from institutions with balance sheets. Time is a hidden amplifier of risk. The longer the gap between decision and delivery, the more exposure you have to black swan events, dependency failures, personnel changes, and external shocks. Ironically, trying to speed up execution often makes this worse. Haste increases defects, rework, and coordination breakdowns. What looks like speed early almost always extends the total duration. The book draws a sharp line between planning and delivery. Planning should be slow, exploratory, iterative, and even boring. Delivery should be short, focused, and decisive. Many failures come from reversing this, rushing planning and improvising during execution, which creates a permanent break-fix cycle. This is reinforced by what the authors call the commitment fallacy. People rush to commit because thinking feels like delay. Once a decision is made, psychological and political forces make it hard to reverse. Sunk costs accumulate. Stopping becomes career-threatening. As a result, bad projects rarely die early, they linger. Good project leadership deliberately delays commitment. It explores alternatives. It asks whether decisions are reversible. It treats early cost estimates as suspect. Importantly, it recognizes that optimism is most dangerous when held by the decision maker. You would never want a pilot to be optimistic about fuel. The same applies to budgets and timelines. Another core idea is thinking from right to left. Projects should not start with solutions. They should start with outcomes. The question, why are we doing this, must remain unchanged from start to finish. Projects are not goals, they are means. When this is forgotten, scope creeps in silently, costs explode, and success becomes undefined. The method used here is backcasting. You define a concrete future state that genuinely matters. Then you work backward to identify only what is necessary to reach it. This sharply limits unnecessary work and prevents the illusion that more effort equals more progress. The book repeatedly emphasizes that humans are bad at getting things right the first time, but very good at improving them. This is why iterative planning beats detailed upfront prediction. Pixar is used as a case study not because of creativity, but because of process. Pixar assumes early ideas are wrong. It builds rough versions. It invites critique. It repeats this cycle until most unknowns are resolved. before expensive production begins. This approach kills the illusion of explanatory depth. If you cannot simulate, explain, and test something, you do not understand it. Planning becomes a learning engine, not a bureaucratic exercise. Experience plays a central role here, yet it is often discounted due to politics, novelty bias, or the desire to be first. The book shows that first movers rarely win. Fast followers do. They learn from others' failures at lower cost. This is why proven technology, boring tools, and repetition outperform custom, cutting-edge solutions in complex systems. A particularly dangerous bias is believing your project is unique. While every project has unique details, risk patterns are remarkably consistent. The antidote is reference class forecasting. Instead of asking, "How long will this take us?" you ask, "How long did similar projects actually take?" This forces you to adopt the outside view. It includes unknown unknowns automatically because they already happened to others. Averages alone are not enough. You must understand the distribution. In fat-tailed domains, adding a small buffer does not protect you. You must design for survival under worst-case scenarios. The book also dismantles the myth of learning from success stories. Success is often a mix of skill and luck. Failure teaches more, but only if you look. Opportunity cost matters, even when a project succeeds, because resources consumed could have produced something better. Execution, once planning is done, requires focus. Projects succeed when incentives align, when experienced people are empowered, and when teams operate as a single organism rather than silos. Hiring experience is expensive, but in complex projects, it is cheaper than ignorance. Finally, the book introduces the idea of modularity, finding the smallest repeatable unit, the Lego brick. Big things that succeed are rarely built as one monolith. They are assembled from proven modules. This keeps failure small, learning fast, and scaling predictable. The overriding rule that ties everything together is simple but brutal. Eliminate downside risk first. Upside is optional. Survival is not.